So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the session from Orbit to Market. My name is Markéta Filipenská. I'm working for innovation agency JIC, and in this session, I will be the host. Many people, I believe, even in this room, are admiring space exploration, are dreaming about becoming space tourists. However, when it comes down to the business and to planet Earth, we often think, well, space isn't really for me, for my business. I believe that after this discussion, we will change your mind and persuade you that there's definitely something for anyone, any startup in space, from data-driven startups to companies in more traditional sectors like agriculture. So, I would like to invite in the first part of the discussion on the stage Jana Mulačová. Please, Jana, big applause for Jana. Jana is working for Knowledge and Innovation Management, which is part of European Space Operations Center. She's, of course, a space enthusiast with background in space science and technical cybernetics, and she contributed to missions like Rosetta, Mars Express. That's in your bio sketch, so I will repeat it. And together we will discuss how European Space Agency supports the space tech startups in Europe. So, Jana, please take your seat. And we will start with the first question. Before I will do so, I would like to encourage you to use your EVT application and to go to the From Orbit to Market session. And you can write down your questions and we will select few of them in the discussion. So don't hesitate to ask your questions as well. And I will start with the first one. So from your perspective, how can companies outside the traditional space industry start engaging with space technologies today?
Well, first of all, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I would say that there is a thought before you start with companies, and my first instinct is to say, but you don't start from company. You should start from a person with an idea. The ideation process does not start with already having a small company, usually, if you're not super lucky. And ESA has actually quite cleverly developed an entire substructure of programs that are aimed at aiding this entire process, from a person with an idea, whether it be a student who's just looking to write a PhD thesis, or someone who doesn't even know where to begin, all the way up to major industry players that are fully qualified to build space-worthy equipment and deliver it to ESA on huge contracts. This entire range is being catered to by ESA programs that are trying to support, trying to develop. ESA is essentially on a mission to work itself out of business by creating the business opportunities and the know-how within the European population and the European space industry. So we have actually created a small PDF that you can download with all the links. We kind of sorted them. Depends on where you are, depends on who you are and how you want to approach it. But we have everything from, as I said, PhD programs all the way to tendering portals where you just know how to approach the business. I think it's easier if you just go through the links than if I try to walk you through them. And of course, there is the necessity for anyone who has a small business to first sort of work on their technology readiness level. That's a key word. It's something that needs to be understood. There is a lot of risk management. There is a lot of quality management that suddenly starts piling up as you go up the food chain and as you grow. So if you're starting, if you're a small business, try not to get overwhelmed by it, but try to plan ahead, knowing that your product assurance for anything that will go to space or engage with space will be about 1/3 overhead. Always think that. Space is hard.
As Jana mentioned, actually, there's a whole ecosystem of support for starting from the idea through the ESA BICs up to the tenders with the European Space Agency. So, even the application under the from orbit to market session, you will find the PDF. So just download it from your application. And we have discussed all the support available. However, when you mentioned the TRL, the technology readiness level, I guess there can be some misconception because the European Commission is using some scale of technology readiness level, but the European Space Agency has slightly different approach to TRL. So if you can address it for us.
Wow, wow, that's a tough topic, especially without slides, without anything to show. Technology readiness level is a scale that we use to identify whether a specific technology or a specific organization that is embracing or innovating some new technology is on the level to actually have a claim to this is space-worthy. For us, it's a technological question, but of course there is the organizational question as well. And this is what sparks the huge differences in understanding. For technology, it's quite simple. You start at 0 and you go up to, now I don't want to lie, but I think it goes up to 9. 9 is,
yeah, I guess it's 9.
Proven flight equipment. So you start with basic concept and you go through the stages of having a similar building a prototype, having a similar technology concept that is already working, but is not yet, for example, radiation hard. It also embraces our model philosophy, which is very heavily reflected in the ECSS standardization, about which I could bore you for years. That was my job for quite a long time, and I'm fully aware that it's a very tough subject. But once you basically work through the model philosophy and build more and more space-like equipment or use your technology, it doesn't have to be hardware. I also make the mistake of talking about hardware. More and more space-worthy your technology is, because for software, trust me, there's also a lot of standardization that you have to put up with. Any kind of technological idea starts as an idea and ends as something that has been flown. And ESA has programs that are aimed specifically at boosting this technology readiness level for selected technologies. And of course, our programs here in Europe are not the fastest moving pace, but they can be relied on through the process. Once you're above a certain TRL with your technology, you have access to more and more development and more support. And I really encourage everyone to look into it, because I'm just waving my arms in the air right now. I would love to show you a really nice plot that I have in my pocket in the phone.
Yeah, we were talking mostly about the things that could fly in space. So it's the upstream, but the space tech is also about downstream. It's also important to mention that we can also use something that has been in space, or even at least the space data from the satellites. So this can be also the innovation which is called space tech. However, there are specific areas where ESA sees growing demand for innovation. So could you address those specific areas?
Yes. Well, first of all,
Yeah,
I want to address what you said. Every single person that comes from the NASA environment and looks at what we are doing here in Europe says, if I wanted to start a business, my go-to idea would be take the free Sentinel data and use it for something. So there you have it for free. And sorry, what was the question?
The areas where the European Space Agency sees the biggest potentials for innovation.
Well, I can only speak for ESOC, our operations center that is also home to the space safety program. We definitely see a huge growth in interest in all our member states for this space safety, because there is, of course, we don't want to end up like the dinosaurs. So we have developed a program that should shield life on Earth from near Earth objects and prevent our infrastructure from being destroyed or distorted by geomagnetic and solar events that can impact us. So we have, as a continent now, as a collection of member states, made the decision that this is very important for us. So we have quite a lot of potential. We're building up a lot of infrastructure in this. There is a lot of business to be made. So there, if you have, for example, some ideas for deorbiting space debris, there will be business to be made, I'm sure. If you have any ideas on how to create a pan-continental alert system that would target specific infrastructure that needs to be altered in expectation of a solar storm, there's money to be made. And of course, there is always the possibility to work with our software, because we are seeing more and more pressure for automation, potentially using AI. Let's not conflate those two. We do a lot of automation changes because we have a lot of missions flying, and there's going to be more and more. And we can't inflate our control rooms. We still have the same number of people flying them. Automating the mission control system use, automating the entire network infrastructure control. We now even have ground stations that are completely unmanned, uncrewed. And everything is being automated. So looking into automation and applications of AI that are reliable enough, because in space we don't just go on a whim, 90% safe, it's gonna work. We need very much reliable AI outcomes. So those are the aspects that in European Space Operations Center we see as the aim for innovation. And of course, we're now working on the concept of solar system internet, which is also something worth looking into. Read up on it if you have ideas for the infrastructure projects that will be necessary for it. There might be business.
Great hints where to start with, actually. So we all love stories about startups who made it to the space. So you have some?
Well, we have quite a few success stories that are very dear to my heart. I think I will start with MooFind. MooFind, just the name. I'm smitten with it. Those are not space people. MooFind is a startup in ESA BIC Hessen, and they came from farming background, and they realized that there are those GPS trackers for dogs, right? So you can actually size it up quite a bit if you want to put one on a cow, and a farmer can keep a nice app overview of where his cows are, or her cows. And also there is all this Earth observation data, so they can really get a lot of information about the pastures of the cows. So when it gets too muddy, it's too wet, you can move the cows to a different part of the pasture and not have it ruined and turn into this horrible mud pit that is so typical. As a former equestrian, I have a mild PTSD about muddy pits. So you can actually actively prevent it by just having a little pop-up on your app saying you need to move your cows to a different pasture. They observe if there is enough grass or if it's been grazed out. And basically it's a cow management system. And do you see what I see? They're using Sentinel Earth observation data, which are free. They are using the navigation systems technology that is available. And ultimately, the customer is nobody near ESA. Their customer is a farmer. ESA is just providing technologies that they are actually using. And ESA supported this startup because it's brilliant and it is bringing the space technology to where it needs to be and work for the population of Europe.
Great example.
I'm absolutely in love with MoveFind.
Because we wanted to address the examples of space startup which are not sending anything into space, but using the space data for their business and to solving specific problems.
Indeed. Let's talk about an idea that actually would go the other way.
Yeah. I know that you have the example.
I had an email from just a random guy named Yanis. And he had an idea and he did not quite know where to place it. Apparently, he works at the Technical University of Athens in some bio applications of lasers. And this guy named Yanis asked me and my boss at the time if we could have a chat. Believe it or not, there is a huge problem during EVA, the extravehicular activity of astronauts, which we have nothing to do with. In ESA, we just fly the uncrewed missions. Our colleagues in Köln and the EAC actually do the crewed flights. But of course, we would hear out the guy. During these activities, there might be a sudden change in intracranial pressure of the astronaut that has absolutely vandalizing effect on their performance at the moment and also on their long-term health. It is apparently a value that has to be checked, and it's very highly invasive to check somebody's pressure inside the noggin. I'm using technical terms, of course. Apparently, this guy named Yanis, somewhere at Technical University of Athens, came up with an idea that actually enables a simple stick to come out of the side of the helmet and just flash into the eye of the astronaut. And a concept of how this device would actually, using some specific wavelength laser, could measure intracranial pressure of the astronaut without any risk. Continuously, it would make a check every 5 minutes or so. It improves safety of our astronauts immensely, and it's a technology that is fairly easy to create and qualify. So there I was talking to a guy about something I had no idea about, but we actually managed to figure out the situation. He's already at the university, so we started talking about a co-funding research project, and he's already working together with a medical team at EAC. I was very happy to introduce them. So that's one success story. Once it's up there, I'll let you know.
I'm checking in the meantime the questions from the audience, and I can see some of them are quite popular. Maybe I will pick what are the biggest bottlenecks that early-stage startups face when transitioning from technical innovation to a viable business model? I know that you are not dealing with the incubation of space startups. However, from your perspective in ESOC, when you are dealing with space startups, so what are some bottlenecks you can identify?
Which one is it?
It's the third one from Jakub Foster-Chill.
I think, and here we are.
Here we are.
People, don't be Elon. I don't know how else to put it. This is the short catchphrase, but there is this distorted idea that you create something and then you just sell it to this one big customer, that ESA will come like a knight in shining armor and buy the whole idea and you will be forever rich. That's never going to work out like that. The fact that SpaceX had this success is a mysterious process that is not quite repeatable unless you line a few pockets. And there are no pockets to be lined in the European environment. We don't work like that. There is no one powerful enough to help you through that. The processes are not even set up for this. Don't expect ESA to be your ultimate customer. You need to have your customer base. And that is the first bottleneck for any startup. Scaling up, getting business, you need to have your other customers. You need to find your customer within the environment of the aerospace industry. Don't rely on ESA to be the customer. Ultimately, yes, maybe one day you will be the CEO of a huge organization that is delivering a solution to ESA, but the path is so long and the risks are so immense, and the time between this and that is so incredibly long that you will not make it waiting for the big funding from ESA. Make it small, find your customers. Don't rely on ESA to be the customer. And also think about quality, think about reliability. These things make a difference in who your customer is and how you sell it. Of course, if you are reselling, say, some nice processing of sentinel data to farmers, you can afford certain lapses in, say, quality. Your app can have an outage of half a day and the farmer will just take it easy, I guess. Though these days, an outage of half a day is a lot. Like when what's it called, this AI thing, Copilot? Copilot had an outage of half a day. It was headlines in the news. So if you want to make it big, reliability will become, and quality will become more and more of a pressing issue. But you're not exactly flying things to space where they can't be repaired. So that's still kind of more viable. But if you want to actually make it into space, create hardware, software, or anything that will go anywhere near the space environment, the risks are not just the actual physical risks of radiation, vacuum, and the horrid life unsupporting environment out there. It's also the risk of doing business with a huge agency that might not even be interested. So do your risk management on both technical and managerial level. Do your customer search. Do your identification of what you want to accomplish and what kind of requirements you want to put on it. And of course, research the requirements that ESA will put on you if you want to be in a project and tender for something, because the ECSS standardization is voluminous and needs to be understood. So there's a lot to be said about possibly looking into someone with product assurance or quality assurance experience. They might guide you through a lot of risks. I'm sorry, it's boring. That's boring.
Don't be like Elon. I guess that will be something.
Yeah, listen to your quality assurance people. Don't be like Elon.
However, the context is changing, and we know that space is also becoming strategically important for the security of Europe. And what's the position of European Space Agency, actually, in this topic?
We live in difficult times. European Space Agency is, per its constitution, a peaceful organization. We are only to exploit space technologies for peaceful purposes. That said, in our past, we have always seen, as a species, not as ESA, as a species, we have seen that space was above it all. There was this international understanding that aerospace is somewhat above war and conflict, but unfortunately that is no longer the case. We had a launch planned when the war between Russia and Ukraine started. And when I saw Russia invading Ukraine, I was thinking, there goes our latest song, because I was preparing a song where we would celebrate the launch of the rover for Trace Gas Orbiter. Trace Gas Orbiter, ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter is an orbiter waiting for its rover to land so it could relay data from Mars to Earth. And Trace Gas Orbiter has been there since 2016, and the rover the mission was supposed to launch that year, and it didn't, because we did not want another baby with a terrible X all of a sudden. Because we do have some, and it's not easy in mission operations. We work in decades, we don't work in years. We have missions that are still today flying instruments of Roscosmos, ESA, NASA, and JAXA on one platform. We can't just burn them, but making more of them is right now not the environment we're comfortable with. So we actually had to decide, and it was a brave decision by our member states, to cancel the rover. And there is an orbiter around Mars right now just waiting for its lander, and we keep waiting. We will make it. We'll do it on our own without Russia, if need be, but that war really changed the paradigm. And it's terrible, and I hope that they can stop it.
However, the defense applications are definitely not something that the European Space Agency would support right now. Not
at the given time. Our constitution is very clear about ESA being a peaceful or only organization. We might need to kind of maintain certain operations. I mean, think about the ISS. We can't just tear a piece of it off. But it is an aging project that will eventually be replaced. And at this point in time, we're steering away from making new ones. So the collaboration door is basically closing. For now, will never consider military applications of our missions, though there have been some cases known about data that could be used in some ways that would be applicable for certain intelligence. But let's not get into that. I don't want to give you ideas that might be terrible.
Jana, thank you so much for answering all these questions, to explaining us what we can expect from European Space Agency, what support it provides, what are the areas in which we can see the biggest potential of innovations, and also explaining that maybe the European Space Agency isn't the best customer. So,
sorry.
I guess that's something we all need to know before entering the space technology area. So that was Jana Mulačová. Big round of applause for her.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.